Peace, love, and blessings to everyone. I am your resident master teacher, Len Gaffney, co-owner of The Healing Environment with my lovely wife, Jamaica, here in Smyrna, Georgia. I want to share with you some thoughts that have been downloaded into my spirit the last couple of days. And so I'm going to kind of go deep within. So bear with me on this particular time that I'm going to share with you. One of the things that Jamaica and I have experienced over the last year is an enormous amount of people that have kind of walked in to the center and felt either numb or a level of suffering that they didn't know where else to turn. And particularly in the past few months, we've sort of had this happen in waves. And the majority of the people that have walked in are from our own culture. And so one of the things that we found and that we in our working with these magnificent individuals is every last one of them have inherited a genetic gift of sight, intuitiveness, or whatever you want to call it. And for some reason, it has been suppressed all of their lives. So what happens is, some of us are born with these genetic traits, gift of sight, gift of intuitiveness. Maybe you can see spirits or hear spirits. I mean, it happens myriad of different ways. And so what happens is, as a child, if you're telling your parents or something that you see something or something, it's more times than not, it's being sort of ignored or shut off. And in some instances, it's probably being demonized, And so we've been sort of taught and programmed all of our lives, and sometimes from a religious perspective, that certain things that happen like this aren't spiritual, religious in nature. But if you look back in the Bible, there's a myriad of different prophets, Ezekiel, Samuel. I mean, there's different prophets. What do you think that is? That's intuitiveness. That is those folks that are tapping in their spiritual consciousness and receiving messages and all of that stuff. It's still happening today. But what's happening today is we're finding so many people in our culture that have come in and have been suppressed all of their lives, and they end up. So what happens when they get suppressed is one of the things that happens is you start to you're sensitive to everything. So when you're an empath or intuitive, you're highly sensitive to everything. So when things happen to you, you begin to be highly sensitive to whatever happens to you, and you can't process it very well. So you begin to hold that energy in you. And so what that does is starts to block the pathway of your sort of acute sense of awareness that you were born with. And the more traumatic energies that you're harboring, the more it blocks. And so by the age of from 2 to 7, every child has that genetic gift of sight, because when you're born in the world with that. And so from the ages of 2 to 7, they're really shaped by their environments, their parents, everything that happens to them. And it could go one of two ways. They could be sort of helped and embraced when they say, "Mom or Dad, look up there, I see something," or something happens that registers and says, "Okay, something happened because I sensed something," or they can be shut off, which normally what happens. And I know there's a lot of you out there. You have grandkids, you have sons, you have daughters. Everybody that's come in the past few months, male and female, just as many males as come in as females, have suffered to some point because they haven't embraced their intuitive gifts that they were born with. And so as a result of it, they've had to endure all of these traumas and energies, which are designed to put you in a level of suffering so that eventually you don't have anywhere else to turn, and then you tap into something that says, I need to walk in the healing environment, or I need to go here to really understand what's going on. And what really highlighted this for me, again, I learn every day, and I'm in the process of really tuning into every genetic gift that I was blessed with. And one of the things that I'm blessed with is I have the ability to really communicate and sense energies from plants, animals, everything. And so what happens is I have a money tree plant, and I walk by it, and she'll sense that, well, I haven't really paid attention, or she needs water. It'll ring like a bell, and okay, I'll go water, and I'll talk, and I'll communicate with it. And then I've got in my office, I got an aquarium with fish in it, right? And so the fish has been back for a few days, and because we had to really decontaminate the tank, and things happened in January. And so I'm sitting in the chair right next to the tank, and one of the fish, swims up into the tank next to me, right? And so I could hear it, I can sense it, I can hear it. It's hungry, wants to be fed. Now I've already fed the fish that morning, but these fish are like, they can eat 5 or 6 times a day. So I speak to the fish, and I said, no, I'm not going to feed you 5 or 6 times a day. I'm going to feed you once a day, And so that fish is sending out that signal, right? And that signal. And I think I mentioned my grandson. I have a grandson, right? He's 2 years old. He'll be 3 in like 3 or 4 months, right? And so he's kind of going through this embracing of his genetic gifts, because he's gifted, right? And so Jamaica calls me, and I'm at the gym, and yesterday, a couple of days ago, he ends up walking into my office and taking the large can of fish food and dumped the whole thing in the water, right? And then she asked him, why did he do that? Because the fish are hungry. I need to feed the fish. And so initially I got kind of irritated by it, and I'm like, because we got to decontaminate the tank again. And then I got in my own way. And then I thought, what actually happened? So what happened is those fish are sending out signals, right? And they're sending out signals. Every thought, emotion are energetic energies and signals, right? And so the same signal that I picked up when I was sitting next to the tank, those fish were sending out the signals. And I thought, my grandson just didn't automatically say the fish need. No, he picked up that signal, and then it resonated with him because he's gifted to pick up the signal. And then he walked in and fed him. Now he's 2, so he doesn't know that, I need to feed him a little bit. He just opens up and dumps the whole thing in there, right? And so I can't be mad, because he's understanding the genetic gifts that he's have, and he's following his intuition. And just a week before that, Jamaica told me, and so I've worked on myself to the point where my energetic field is large, right? And I'm continually working on it. And so one day I'm driving home, and I'm close to home from the gym, and Jamaica tells me that he says, Papa's coming. And she looks out, Papa's not coming. So he takes his little chair, he takes it to the window, and he sits and says, Papa's not coming. And then 2 minutes later, I pull up in the driveway, and he's sensing, picking up that energetic field. And I know a lot of you have grandkids, sons and daughters that have mentioned something to you in your life. I want you to think back on if your son, your daughter, or your grandkids have shown that, because they are. There's a lot of folks that are being born in this day and age, because if you look at the whole entirety of what's going on in this world, this entire world is being raised consciously, and it's hitting everybody, whether they're ready or not. And the ones that are ready are embracing it, are the energies that we've stored in us, the traumas are coming out, and it's forcing us to deal with them. And the ones that aren't ready, you've seen the mass killings. You've seen just last week, the Michigan State University. You've seen what happens when everything is bottled up, and this energy's consciousness is raising everybody, whether they're ready to deal with it or not. And that happens. So I want to ask you this rhetorical question. Out of all of the mass killings that have happened in the past few years, I want you to ask yourself, what percentage of those folks had inherited genetic gifts when they were a child and they were purposely shut off due to environment, the parents, or everything else? And so they didn't find a way to open up or share. And maybe, voices of spirits were speaking to them. They didn't know how to share that, didn't know how to communicate with that with their mom or their dad or anything. It happens more than you think. And so if you have a child, a grandchild, a son, daughter, a niece, nephew, and you're starting to and they say some things that are apart from what you're used to dealing with, I want you to get out of your own way. And I want you to understand that there may be something there. More times than not, there is something there. We owe it to ourselves and the overall genetic consciousness elevation of this entire planet and everybody to understand that we have to embrace the folks that are coming in. And that's what we do. We embrace those folks that understand that you've been dealing with this sensitive awareness all of your life. And because you haven't embraced it, well, we're going to do this the hard way. The universe is going to put all of these genetic traumas, all of these traumas on you and force you to sit in them and suffer to the point where you have nowhere else to turn. Now you can do one of two things. You can let them burst and you can do what happened in MSU, or you can do, you can walk into the healing environment or other institutions or centers like that for help. Unfortunately, we've been able to help a lot of people from our own culture. And I remember I was talking to my father, and we were talking, a few years ago, and he said his mother, my grandmother, had the gift of second sight, and my dad has it, but it hasn't been embraced as much as it probably should have. And I think he's starting to understand it, and he's shifted his way of thinking more than ever before. And I'm proud of him. But it is, and so how many of us, growing up, I didn't have anybody to talk to about the things that I was feeling or experiencing. But now I am a voice and a vessel to help others. My wife Jamaica is. So many of us in our culture. And outside of our culture, it happens too. If you know somebody, or if you understand that there are people that are being born, or children are being born with genetic gifts of second sight, that don't close your eyes to it. Don't shut off to it. I want you to pay attention, and you don't have to have the answers, but there are people that are things or places you can go to so you can get help, can find the answers. So my grandson is exceptional. And so one of the things that we're going to have to adjust in our family is his ability to jump at things that he senses. Now, as he gets older, when we teach him, okay, you have to understand it, you have to process it. But now he's just reacting. That's what 2-year-olds do. And so when I looked back on it, I'm like, I'm proud of him. I had to decontaminate the tank. Oh, well, no big deal. But the lesson was for me to be more aware. Now that I am more aware of what I'm experiencing, what I do, then I can help others. And it may be my 2-year-old grandson, or it may be the 35-year-old black gentleman that walks into the center and doesn't know where to turn, because we've had them. Or the 55-year-old woman that has endured such trauma all of her life, and she's shut off her gifts of intuitiveness purposely. see them every week. We see them every day. So this resonated with me. I know you have people in your families. I know you know people. I know. We're going to have to start opening our hearts to the possibility of what these people can show, what these people can see, and what these people can respond to. And then adjust our lives to be able to embrace that. And it's not easy, because it's in working with my grandson, it's exhausting. But it's worth it. It's worth it. Because every effort that we put in now is going to be worth it when he gets to the point where he can help others. Every effort. And so if we can sort of help reduce the level of trauma that he's going to experience, he's going to have to experience some level of it. But if we can take off some of it, I'm all for it. And so that's what I wanted to share with you guys today. I know you have folks that you know, that you're close to, that have, second sight gifts. And so those children that says, hey, mom, hey, dad, look up there. And or is looking up in the ceiling, obviously seeing something. But you just kind of shut her away and says, nah, embrace it. What are you seeing? Who's there? Simple question. That's it. Pawpaw's coming. Okay, Pawpaw's coming. And it's so many times when my grandson says, Pawpaw, the door, somebody's at the door. And the first couple of times I said, nobody's at the door. Somebody's at the door. Whether it be the UPS guy or something, somebody's at the door. So now I'm embracing everything that I see, everything that I experience. And it took me sitting next to my fish tank, picking up the signals from that fish, talking about how hungry they were. And then a day later, my grandson picking up those same signals. So that's how it happens. So I wanted to share this with you. I love you. Peace, blessings. And we're always here. There's always avenues. There's help for you. You don't have to do this alone. It is a different maneuverability of areas that we've got to navigate, but you've got help. There's thousands of people like us and me that have experienced this, that are here to help. And we're just here to help. And so if you're in the Georgia area, stop on by. If you're experiencing some of these, we've got events that are scheduled in, later this month and in March. Please, check out our website for the events, because I want to see you walk in and say, that resonated with me. I have a son, or I've experienced this. Because 9 times out of 10, it's the same thing that I'm communicating to these people. You have gifts that you haven't really embraced all of your life. And as a result, you're experiencing all of this trauma. Because you're going to get there one way or the other. You're going to get to the point where you're acknowledging the suffering and there's a way out, or you can go the other way. And so hopefully this resonates with you. I love you. Peace, blessings, and we'll talk to you down the road.